Yes, it's that time again. 7 o'clock on the East Coast, Monday evening. Another episode of the Online Movie Show. I'm Phil Hall, and for the next hour, we're going to be talking about independent films with two of the most invigorating and innovative artists behind the camera. Later in the show, we're going to be meeting Erica Jordan. And if you like to watch movies on the internet, whether on your laptop or your cell phone, you're doing that because of Erica Jordan and because of me. There's a story about that, and you'll be learning that story a little later on. And we're also going to be meeting with Michael Legge, who is a cult favorite among the underground movie aficionados. He's been making films for about 3 decades, comedy, horror films. Did make one serious ghost film called Evan Straw, which is quite a good film. We'll be talking to him about his interesting career and some of the projects he's currently working on, including a new book. You may also know Michael from his TV show, The Dungeon of Dr. Dreck. And it's interesting because it's a public access show out of Massachusetts, which has national distribution. So if any of you guys are interested in doing a public access show and getting a national audience, Michael can tell you how to do it. This program is being brought to you over PPRN Radio, and if this is your first time listening to PPRN, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. This is a 24/7 net radio channel which specializes in talk radio with an inappropriate touch of music. Immediately after this program, at 8 o'clock, is going to be the program Undiscovered, which is quite a good show. It features musical talent that are not signed to major labels, and you'll be hearing them here for the first time on the air. In fact, a lot of people have been listening to the show, including other radio stations. We've had at least 2 acts whose music was played on Undiscovered, and they were tapped by radio stations elsewhere in the world. They said, hey, we want to play these guys' music, and sure enough, their music's being heard elsewhere. So give a listen to Undiscovered at 8 o'clock. Also on PPRN Radio tomorrow night at 7 p.m. is Peter Pinho's talk show. The guests are The Remnants, which is a band out of Connecticut, along with singers Bruce Gregory and Charlie Bean. They're going to be on the show as well. But I think we can turn off Mr. Bizet's music right now, as much as I love it. And we're going to be speaking with Michael Legge. Michael's an interesting character. He's based out of Massachusetts. He specializes in creating offbeat comedy films with a horror sci-fi tinge to them. He's comfortable on both sides of the camera. Some of his films have included Working Stiffs, Loons, Brain Drain, Honey Glaze. I had the good fortune of being in a few of his films, including My Mouth Lies Screaming and Monochromia, and I had guest roles in the films Coffee Run and also The Brothers Dim, which was a bit of an endurance test for me because most of my dialogue was actually screamed as opposed to spoken, and I'm not very good when it comes to raising my voice and screaming for prolonged periods, but anything from Michael Legge. So what I think we're going to do is dial him up and see if he's there and learn a bit more about his output. So let's give the old Magic Jack a rub and get Michael Legge on the phone. It's the Online Movie Show here on PPRN Radio. So if you just bear with us, a little bit lo-fi here when it comes to connecting with our guests. The joys of live radio. This could be embarrassing if he doesn't answer the phone, of course. But.
You the voicemail box of...
All right, well, let's give it another go, yeah. I'm not quite certain what happened there. He's on Skype, so I don't know if that's... shouldn't be a problem. Hello, Michael?
Yes.
Michael, hey there. It's Phil Hall, and you're on the Online Movie Show.
Oh, boy. I didn't have any chance to prepare either, huh? You just called me and I'm on.
I hope I didn't catch you on the toilet.
No,
Okay,
I already got that over with.
Good for you. Successfully, I hope. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Michael, telling the audience a bit about you. You've been making films. When did you start making films?
Well, in terms of just making movies for fun, it goes way back into the 60s when I was a teenager. But I didn't get really serious about it until the late 80s. So, like, Working Stiffs was my first feature, and that was like 1988 or 89, something like that.
You also made some short films before that as well. Is that correct? I think one of them even wound up on the USA Network.
Yes, it did. The Lemon Man was on the USA, the old Night Flight program, which I miss. That they used to run those things on, I think, Friday and Saturday nights, all night.
Well,
but yeah, that was on there, boy.
What was
in the 80s?
Yeah, for the benefit of the audience members that weren't around in the late 80s and early 90s, what was Night Flight, and how did you get your film on the air?
Well, Night Flight was sort of a potpourri of all different media things. They would show old movies, they would show independent shorts, they'd show music videos, and I believe they just had an ad, or I think right on the air they asked for any submissions, and I took the chance and I sent them just one of the movies, which was The Lemon Man at the time, which is like a 10-minute short. And they liked it. I got a one-time flat fee for it. I think they showed it maybe half a dozen times during that time.
What was The Lemon Man about? It sounds pretty interesting, just from the title.
It was, well, I played this nutcase that went around committing pointless crimes. They didn't really harm anybody. I just went in people's houses. I did stupid things like set their clocks back 10 minutes or things like that. And since I was an insane crook, they had to hire insane police to find me.
And apparently the folks at the USA Network were insane enough to put that on the air. Yeah,
they did. They liked it. And every once in a while I've heard from somebody that actually saw it when it was broadcast, people from different parts of the country, which is kind of funny when I hear about it.
Well, speaking of insanity, you also received money from the federal government for one of your films. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, I got two grants from the National Endowment for the Arts back in the early 90s for two different movies. I believe I sent them Working Stiffs just to show them an example of my work, because I was going to be doing Loons next, my second movie, and I was trying to get money for Loons. And when they saw Working Stiffs, they decided to give me a few $1,000s. I was really flabbergasted. I never would have thought that, the kind of silly comedy that I do, that they would throw any money at me, but they did.
Well, Working Stiffs is a film about a human resources agency that hires zombies for temporary work.
Yes.
And that's a comedy film. And Loons, which actually was the first film of yours that I saw, that's a bit complex. Do you want to give us a quick rundown of what that one is about?
Well, that had to do with a family curse. There was a witch that was burned at the stake in the late 1600s, and she was the only real witch that was ever burned. So she put a curse on the judge that condemned her, that all his male descendants would go insane by the age of 30. And the present-day loon male, who was the last one of them, he wants to get married, and his mother doesn't want him to get married, because the more they propagate, the longer the curse will go on. So that's the basic thing of it, except that he finds out he has a brother that was born insane, and he goes sane on his 30th birthday. So then there's two male loons, and they think that the way to end the curse is to bring the witch back to life and just ask her. And through a series of stupid acts, they bring her back to try to end the curse.
And this got money from the National Endowment for the Arts.
Yes.
That's great. Does the NEA still give out money to filmmakers, or were you among the last of the last wave to get federal funds?
Well, at the time, I'm not even sure if they're still around, but there used to be a nonprofit organization, the Boston Film and Video Foundation, and they would administer the grants. So they were like the panel that you would go through initially, and they would decide which movies or which movie makers deserved grants, and then they would get the money from the NEA, and that would come to the so-called artists. And I doubt that doesn't happen anymore. I don't know if they're still around. That's a good question, actually, but at least I got two of them out of them anyway.
What was the other film that got the NEA money?
Cutthroats.
And what was that film about?
That was an early office comedy. I'm told that, well, I've seen it subsequently when I saw Office Space. Cutthroats was before Office Space, and people were remarking to me that Office Space seemed like Cutthroats to them if they had seen Cutthroats already. But that's basically about a guy whose nightmare job just gets worse and worse as each day goes on, and people start acting weird around him. They act more treacherous. So it gets to the point where it becomes more and more surrealistic. I don't know if I should give away the ending, but
No.
let's leave it at that.
Well, your films are available on DVD, is that correct?
Yes, they're all on Amazon or CreateSpace.
Okay. Because I actually first came to your films during the 90s and early 2000s. I was doing public relations for Ron Bonk's company. It was originally Salt City Home Video, then it became SRS Cinema, and he was releasing your films originally on VHS. I don't know if Ron ever did it on DVD.
He did it himself, but the last couple of movies that I had done that he distributed were on DVD, but it was a different kind of a deal where I went through the process of, making the movie for DVD, and then he would sell the copies.
Where are your films shown? Do you hit the festival circuit? Have they ever been in a theatrical exhibition, or did they go straight to home entertainment?
The features have gone to straight to home entertainment. The short films I used to enter in festivals, although I did have 2 films at the New England Underground Film Festival. You should know, Phil.
That's my festival, yes.
Yeah, one of them was Evan Straw. I forgot what the other one was. I'm not sure if there was more than one. Monochromia.
Monochromia was there, and the year I did the New Haven Underground Film Festival, which was a separate, though similarly named, we showed The Dungeon of Dr. Drek in 3D.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Dr. Drek is an interesting character because he was created for a TV show and then became the movie?
Yes. Back in 2004, I myself and Lorna Magera, my partner in crime, we started doing a horror host show that was initially only on local public access. But then through PEG Media, which is a nonprofit organization out from Maine, they distribute public access shows all over the country. So now, for about 10 years or so, I think, we've been distributed in different parts of the country, probably maybe 30 states or so, something like that.
What is this company called again? I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's PEG Media.
P-E-G or P-E-G-G?
PEGmedia.org.
Okay.
And, they have lots of, public access shows. You basically upload your shows, and they distribute them. And, any other stations can tap into them. And depending on the producer, if you have a lot of money, you can finance their downloads. They're $1 a piece. Or the station pays $1 a piece for everything they download. I don't see that money, by the way.
But you have
That's for the organization.
But you have a national audience, too, which is quite interesting. What kind of reaction do you get to a show like that?
Well, it's interesting because I get a lot of different mail from different parts of the country, which is heartening. But I think I get people that are more in the older category, although I can't say that categorically, but people around the middle age, I would say, that grew up watching this stuff in the 60s, and they had their own local horror hosts. So the nostalgic aspect is really great for them, and they love to see all these movies again. Many people mentioned to me that they haven't seen these things since they were kids growing up, and they also seem to appreciate the fact that I don't interrupt the movies, I don't comment, I don't stick myself into them in any way. I let the audience judge for themselves whether they think the movie's any good or not. I kid them very lightheartedly, I'll kid them. But I love all these movies, no matter how trashy they may be.
What films are these that you're talking about?
These are all public domain movies, basically, from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. Internet Archive.org has a lot of them. But we mostly show horror, old horror, sci-fi, and mystery movies. And I try to dig up the more obscure things, because there's certain public domain movies that all the horror shows show over and over again, like Night of the Living Dead and House on Haunted Hill. So I try to find more obscure things that people wouldn't know about from the small independent studios that used to exist during the 30s and 40s, not the majors. And to me, that's fun. I've mentioned it. It's like being a film archaeologist, really, bringing stuff to light that people haven't seen. If you're familiar with the series of books, The Forgotten Horrors, I'm not sure if you know that, Phil, but
yes.
They must have like 10 volumes, and they are great as film reference for all these obscure old independent films.
Well, you sound like a nice version of MST3K.
Yes, I am. I don't appreciate the snarkiness of that stuff. I think it's easy to sit and make fun of something. Anybody could make fun of anything, in my opinion. I could sit and make fun of Citizen Kane, but that doesn't make it a lousy movie. So I don't want that mindset to prejudge movies before you give it a fair look.
Also realizing, too, that the movies that you've directed and you've written and mostly starred in are free of obscenities as well, which is very unusual for independent film comedy. Why do you keep the F-bombs out of your films?
Because that's what everybody else does. I'm very contrary. Maybe if the situation was reversed, then I would be. But also, I've never made a secret that my hero is Groucho Marx. And he once said it's very hard to get a clean laugh, and it's very easy to get a dirty laugh. So I want to try to do what's hard.
You've also done Groucho on stage. You have a theater company in addition to the TV and the film work.
Yeah, I used to. I recently closed it down since I retired from work. I retired from that as well, but I'm still acting and directing in local theater. But yeah, I've played Groucho about 4 times now, I think, in different productions.
You did, I think, I remember reading there's a book about you. It said that you did, I think, Animal Crackers and The Coconuts, and I think there was an Evening with Groucho review as well. And you did Room Service, which was not written for the Marx Brothers, but you did it based on the characters from the film as opposed to the original play.
Yes, I did do that. I almost had to rewrite the play in order to accommodate them, so I know what they went through when they rewrote it for them on the screen.
Why Groucho? Why do you find him to be so inspirational?
Well, the Marx Brothers in general, but Groucho in particular, I'm one of those that actually prefer their Paramount features rather than their MGM ones where Irving Thalberg kind of softened their image. I liked that when they were like anarchists, just disrupting everything and the status quo, and making nothing was sacred to them, and especially Groucho with his wisecracks and his puns, and I always liked verbal wordplay, so I gravitated to Groucho as my favorite Marx brother.
Well, speaking of wordplay, do you have a book out as well? Because I saw something online saying that there's a Dr. Dreck book.
Yes, Dr. Dreck's B-Movie Museum. Since everybody else in the world seems to have written a book about movies, I figured I could. So it's kind of like an episode guide. It's movies that I've actually shown on my program as opposed to just anything. So they're the more obscure things, and I have my personal feelings about each movie and my comments on them. Sometimes I relate it to what was going on the show at the same time. But basically, I'm defending some movies that are usually trashed because I can usually see something good in even the worst of things. So I guess I'm sort of a Pollyanna in that respect. But I've had a good reaction to the book, which is nice. People complimenting me on that aspect of it, that I'm not trying to trash everything that I see.
There's one film I should ask if that's part of the Dr. Dreck lineup. That was the infamous film, I think it was from 1930 or 31, called Ingagi. Is that part of your offerings?
No, I don't even think that's existing anymore or available. I know what it is.
Yeah. I don't think it's a lost film. I think it still exists, but maybe there's a print in the Library of Congress, but I've been unable to find any copy of it floating around.
Yeah, I know of that movie, and I've never seen it available in any way that I know of. There was the all-black cast that you probably remember of the Son of Ngagi, which was an all-black horror movie that because you did a section in your book about history of independent film about the black cinema.
That was Spencer Williams. Yes, that's right. He wrote, he wrote that one. But Ngagi I've never seen, and if anybody out there knows where it is, or if they have a copy, just please let us know. What new films do you have coming out? Because when I was last in touch with you, I know you were working. It was an all-female movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the newest one, although it's not that new anymore, it came out at the end of last year, is called Planet Void. And it was, I was working from the premise that if the universe is infinite, that means, there would be other planets that are both exactly like ours or pretty close. And so I had a planet where all the men have died off from a disease, and the women are getting along just fine without them. They're able to use their own technology to keep birthing females only because there aren't any male genes available anymore. But the basic premise is that a rogue alien abducts a woman and electronically impregnates her with male genetic material because on his planet the females have all died off. So he wants to make an exchange of genetic material so both planets can reproduce hybrids of both genders. But that's all I'll tell you. It's kind of complicated. It's different from what you normally see from me. It's still a comedy, but it's very low key. Leaning more towards satire than anything else.
There's one of my favorite films of yours, I think, is probably your least typical film, and that's Evan Straw, which is the only non-comedy that you've done.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which it's a ghost story. It's a ghost story with an incredible plot twist, which I don't want to give away. Are you planning to do any more non-comedy films, or is that just going to be the only one?
When it comes to my other favorite genre is like horror films or science fiction. Science fiction's too expensive for somebody like me to do because you need money to pull off anything halfway believable. But horror films are a different thing. You can kind of do them on the cheap. But I did Evan Straw because it was a different idea. So I would have to get a different idea for something because, zombies have been done to death. And vampires and so many things have been done over and over again. If I could think of some new angle, then yes, I would welcome to do something else like that, like Evan Straw.
Well, Michael, our time's coming to a close. Just two more questions. One, what is your next project going to be?
My next project, I am in the midst of writing a screenplay right now called Crawlers, and in spite of the title, it's a comedy, and if people are familiar with the famous movie The Desperate Hours, where there's a home invasion by 3 convicts.
That's right.
Then this is somewhat like that, except that the 3 convicts come from the center of the earth. We didn't know about that there was a whole civilization living in the center of the earth. Okay. That's the crux of it right now. There's this guy I want to get for it. His name is Phil Hall. I wanted to see if he'd be in it.
Oh, definitely. I was waiting for a new script from you. But the second question I have is, where can folks find your work online if they wanted to look you up?
Well, there is a Sideshow Cinema website. So it's sideshowcinemaweebly.com, just for general information. But as we said, all my movies are on Amazon and CreateSpace. And there is a Facebook page for Sideshow Cinema and Dr. Drek, 2 separate ones.
Super. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and I hope to see you and the new script very, very soon.
Okay, thank you, Phil.
Okay, take care.
Hi there. And if you need any kind of work done to your car, you can try DeSilva's Auto Body, located in Naugatuck at 275 Rubber Avenue. Serving the Naugatuck Valley community with the highest quality of craftsmanship for 25 years, we pride ourselves in delivering on our promise of extraordinary customer service and product satisfaction. We have recently expanded our business with in-house experts and industry gold standard equipment. So once again, give us a call at DeSilva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967. That's 203-729-5967, located in Naugatuck on Rubber Avenue. Once again, to Silva's Auto Body, 203-729-5967.
Did you just hear how bad that sounded? Well, you won't get that sound at Hat City Music Productions, located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. CEO Chris Litwin takes your music to the next level. If you're tired of those basement recordings, those people that you pay too much money for and have you get out within a half hour, well, you won't have that problem. Hat City Music Productions, once again located at 536 Federal Road in Brookfield. Go check out Hat City Music Productions. You won't be disappointed. Tell them PPRN sent you. Aw, fuck! Aw, fuck! Aw, fuck!
Hey, dude, where did you get this freaking stellar water pipe?
At Shockinaw in Waterbury.
Where?
Shockinaw Smoke Shop in Waterbury. Dude, don't tell me you haven't been there.
I don't know.
Listen, you gotta go there. Shockinaw is way different from those crappy mall stores. They have some sick-ass glass pipes from crazy-ass glass blowers. And get this, they even have a community art gallery where they host drum circles, poetry jams, and they do music too.
Wow, no way.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they have everything down there, even medical grade.
Dude, I'm down. Where is it?
I told you, it's in Waterbury on Huntington Avenue. Just get off exit 36 from Route 8. Here, I've been following them on Instagram for a while, Shockinaw Smoke Shop. Take a look at this picture.
Wow, man, that rig is ill.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, they're always posting new shit.
Dude, as soon as I get my car back, I'm heading to Shockinaw.
Hey, Matt, we need to write a commercial. We got a supply.
Okay, will it promote our grinders, bats, or the hand-carved dugouts?
Well, our one-hitters and our dugouts are already super popular.
Yeah, people can definitely see the quality difference.
Right, so we probably don't need to focus on those. But our premium grinder's brand new, so why don't we go with that?
Cool. What features should we hit on?
Well, it's a kick-ass grinder and getting rave reviews already, so we could use one of the testimonials saying it's the best grinder they've ever used.
Nah, that's cheesy. Let's stick to the features.
All right. So the key is really the sharp teeth.
And the holes?
And the number and the size of the holes.
Yeah, they let the herb fall through without getting jammed up in the chamber.
Right, because nobody likes the weed traffic jam going on.
There's also a Teflon ring that helps the lid slide easily.
And the super strong magnet in the lid.
And the pollen catcher.
We're never going to get through all this in 60 seconds.
Well, just ask them to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, or visit our website at www.greengoddesssupply.com.
Hi, I'm Phil Hall, and I have a question for you. Are you in need of professional video production service? If you are, I'd like to recommend my friends over at Mass Video Productions. They're based in Quincy, Massachusetts, but they do business all over the United States, and they do a great job. They specialize in corporate videos, whether it's communications from your CEO, employment recruitment, training videos for new employees. They can also help you if you need a video for television or an internet commercial. Maybe you need a music video for your band, or you want a video for a special event in your life. I'm not just saying this reading from the script. I use Mass Video Productions for my Business Superstar website, and I have been very, very impressed by the high quality of their production. If you don't believe me, look it up online. Go to massvidpro.com or call 617-319-3434. Again, massvidpro.com or 617-319-3434. And tell them Phil Hall sent you.
Are you located in the Middlebury area?
Or the Waterbury area?
Check out International Wine and Liquor at 750 Straits Turnpike, located next to the subway.
Or JT Wine and Liquor at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
Both have a wide variety of beer, craft beer, scotches, bourbon, vodka, cognac, and rum.
And a large selection of wines.
Once again, if you're located in the Middlebury area, check out International Wine and Liquor, 750 Straits Turnpike, next to the subway.
Or if you're in the Waterbury area, check out JT Wine and Liquors at 952 Chase Parkway, Waterbury, Connecticut, next to Spartans.
And let them know that PPRN sent you.
Oh, man. Can't take this shit no more. Where the fuck my headphones at? Here they go. Yeah. Ain't nothing like being able to shut that fucking shit up with my Soul Electronic headphones. Yeah. Now Now this is peaceful. Soul Electronics. Headphones inspired by Ludacris. SoulElectronics.com. Get your pair today.
Okay, we're back with the online movie show. We were talking with Michael Legge a few minutes ago. And now we're going to be meeting with Erica Jordan. Before we do, I'd like to tell you a quick story. We can get rid of Mr. Gazette's music. Thank you. Now, if you watch movies on the internet, as I said earlier, either on your laptop or on your desktop or on your phone, you have Erica Jordan and myself to thank for that. I'm serious. I'm not like Al Gore saying I invented the internet. Back in 1998, when webcasting was still very, very new, this was back when the little AOL diskettes were being mailed out with magazines and a lot of people were on dial-up, there wasn't a lot of original programming on the internet to watch, and there was a big problem for that because Hollywood did not want to have their movies and their shows online. They were afraid of piracy and copyright infringement. Now, at the time, I was running a public relations agency, and one of my clients was a company called The Sync, S-Y-N-C. It was based in Laurel, Maryland, and it was run by a young couple named Thomas Edwards and Carla Cole. And they had some original programming on the Sync. They had a few talk shows. They had some short videos, mostly of an amateur nature, and they had 2 old public domain horror films from the silent era, Nosferatu and I believe The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. But that was about it. And just how many times can you watch Nosferatu? So I realized something was needed, and I had said to them, what if we were to get a contemporary feature film to be shown on the internet? Would you be open to it? And Tom and Carla said, sure. Well, as luck would have it, I knew a filmmaker out of San Francisco named Erica Jordan. And she had created a beautiful feature film. It was made in 1994, called Walls of Sand. It was shot in black and white, and it played in the festival circuit. It got very nice write-ups, but it was never released either theatrically or on home video. And I contacted her, and I said, how'd you like to make history? And she said, what do I have to do? And I said, can we put Walls of Sand on the internet? And she volunteered to put her movie for free viewing on the Sync website. And in 1998, Walls of Sand became the first contemporary feature film to be available for real-time viewing on the internet. And fast forward to 2016, and today you could watch all sorts of films, new films, classic films, movies that are supposed to not be ready yet, but you can still see them. They're all online, and you can see them because of Erica Jordan and Thomas Edwards and Carla Cole and myself. The Sync, unfortunately, is no longer with us, and Thomas Edwards and Carla Cole have moved on to other business ventures, but Erica Jordan is still making great films, and now if we can give her a phone call, we're going to speak with Erica Jordan about her adventures in the early days of the internet and her current endeavor in contemporary filmmaking. She has a new film out called Painted Nails, which has already won an award, so this should be quite interesting. As we dial her up. Thank you, Mr. Pinho, who is our sound engineer on tonight's show.
Hello.
Erica Jordan.
Yes.
Hey, welcome
Erica.
Welcome to the Online Movie Show, and of course, I'm Phil Hall. How you doing?
Thank you. Good.
It's good
to hear from you.
It's good to speak to you again. You know, I realize that we've been in touch for years through email and through messaging, but I actually haven't spoken to you in a long, long time. That's technology has really corrupted the way we communicate, hasn't it?
It really has. It's true. In fact, I was just researching, looking back at the history of our connection and Walls of Sand, and I'm looking at, it goes back to 1995,
Well,
94, 95.
Well, 94 is when the film came out, but you were online in 98, and I was wondering, back in 98 when the movie went on the Sync website, could you possibly imagine there would be a day when more people would be watching movies on computers as opposed to going to a theater or turning on a TV?
Well, I thought that was a possibility, but I had probably really no idea of what it would become. And like I said, I was just kind of looking back at the New York Times article talking about Walls of Sand being the first contemporary film on the internet, and that was in 1998.
That's correct.
And just from what they quoted me saying, I realized, like, wow, I really, I had no idea, that, and now I feel very honored to have been one of the first to have their films, a contemporary film on the internet. But at the time, I just thought it was a way to be able to get the film out there and reach more people, and yeah.
Well, prior to the internet, films like Walls of Sand would have to go through the festival circuit, which you could go for years going from festival to festival with the hope that maybe a distributor would pick it up, put it in an art house release, and that could lead to home video and maybe a cable screening. Today, of course, people can just make films and upload them and sort of bypass the festivals and the distributors. Do you like today's business model versus what it was like back in the day?
Well, to tell you the truth, the film festivals are still very, very, very important in a way that it's kind of surprising. And in fact, the A festivals like Sundance and Toronto and South by Southwest, they still have a lot of clout even for the video on demand model, and really being able to market your film. And granted, there's probably a younger filmmakers that are trying to reach an audience and use, social media, to really get their film out there. But it's still pretty dependent on these film festivals, unfortunately or unfortunately. But that's still part of the model. But I do like that there's more possibility, there's more platforms getting your film out there. I think originally when I started making films, I had this idea that it would get into this, if I made an independent film and it was good and people wanted to see it, that it would have theatrical release. And my model was like Stranger Than Paradise by Jim Jarmusch, or Sex, Lies, and Videotape, or Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, Yeah. And they were these, they didn't have stars in their films, and they were able to get them into theaters. And so I think going through film school, I saw that, and I thought, wow, if you make a really good film, you can get it there. So, and I think now people are realizing they do make really good films, and there are a lot of really amazing filmmakers, but how do you get your film out to an audience? And so it is exciting that you can have your films, you can create a buzz, and of course film festivals I think are still the best way to do that, but I think people are trying to find other ways in social media to create an audience.
Well, you have a new film out, Painted Nails, which you've co-directed with Diane Griffin, which we'll speak about at length in a minute. But it's currently on the festival circuit. How do you determine which festivals are best for this type of a film?
Well, I think it's always really thinking about who's your audience. And with a lot of the films that I've made, I think that there's, I think of women, and with Painted Nails as the Asian audience. There's different activists or environmental groups, and you just think of who would partner really with you and who would be invested in this, whatever the issue is, or whatever that, now that I'm making more documentaries, there's more issue-based kind of audience. And I think even with my narrative films, it tackles issues of immigration and, it has, its own audience. So I think in that, you look at the film festivals, and there's so many film festivals. There's Asian film festivals, there's women's film festivals, documentary, and so you find your audience. And I think there's still this model, like I said, that I think most filmmakers go for those A-list film festivals first. And they're so competitive that I would encourage people not to be discouraged by that, because there's so many other wonderful film festivals that can really get your film out there to an audience.
Well, I program a festival, the New England Underground Film Festival, and almost every week I get emails from people saying, "Oh, I've made this film and we've gotten great reviews on other festivals, but just ran out of money. Can I get a fee waiver for your festival?" And I always feel, wow, that takes a lot of chutzpah. And there was actually one fellow who just said, "My films are so good that we don't pay fees to enter festivals anymore. We expect people to just open the doors and let us come in." Do you encounter on the festival circuit filmmakers like that who are so full of themselves that they feel that either they don't have to pay or they can find a way to connive to get into a festival for free?
Yeah, I think. Do I experience that? You mean personally, as far as?
Yeah. You don't have to identify these people, but do you know filmmakers who try to get away with stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I think because you have to enter into so many film festivals that I think probably as a programmer you think, well, they're just entering in my festival and it's $50 entry fee. But really, to get a festival run, which I think most filmmakers want to have, they want it to kind of go from one festival to another, and then they have those little laurels on their website or on their, poster that lets everyone know that they're worthwhile. And so it adds up. It does. It like those fees can quickly add up. So I think if people, a lot of times if you ask, then there are programmers that either say, no, we just can't do that for everyone, or, wow, you have the courage to ask. So, yeah.
I know. I feel I'm sympathetic to, not to the ones who have a chip on the shoulder, but there are some younger filmmakers who are just starting, and if they have a work that is worthwhile, or at least seems worthwhile, I'd be willing to give them a shot. Let's get back for a second to Painted Nails. What is this film all about, and what inspired it?
Well, I made it with Diane Griffin, and we've been working on it for quite a few years. And now it's out in the festivals, and we're working on our whole distribution model. But it follows a Vietnamese manicurist and her story of working in a nail salon in San Francisco where she paints these long, colorful nails. And then she becomes an activist, really, and goes to Washington, D.C., where she fights for safer personal care products. And it's really after she learns that, that her miscarriages and her health problems could have been due to these toxins that she works with. So it's really an immigrant story, and someone rising up and being courageous and speaking out.
How did you meet this manicurist? Was this, because I know you're based in San Francisco, is this somebody you knew personally, or was this her story recommended to you?
Well, we originally were just very interested in how many nail salons there are in San Francisco, and I'm sure in any large city. And really what was this phenomena. And so we were going to do a story about both the clients and what, why it was so meaningful to them to get their nails done and spend that money and time to have their nails manicured, and then the manicurist, in her story. And then it became more and more apparent when we found Van, the main character, and that was really after asking quite a few women if they would be willing to, have a story, have us come in and really document their story. So no, we didn't know her. We found her. But it was after asking quite a few people, and then when we talked to her, she said, yes, I will tell you anything. And she really opened her heart and her family and her whole story to us. And I think people are very drawn into her as a person.
How do you finance a film like this? You're not connected with a Hollywood studio. Do you have to go through grants, whether state grants? I don't know if our previous guest had gotten money from the National Endowment for the Arts. I don't know if they're still giving out money to filmmakers. How do you go about raising the cash for a production like this?
Well, good question. Crowdfunding is a great way. That's a great venue to be able to just reach out. And it can sound easier than it is. It's usually quite an ordeal, like going in and working that whole thing to actually get the financing. But it is possible. Grants are pretty hard, I think. There's a lot of competition, and we did get some grants, but basically it really took us a long time to make it because we had to have our jobs as producers and editors on paying jobs in between making it, which has been kind of the case throughout my history of making films.
Well, you're co-directing with Diane Griffin, who is a very talented filmmaker in her own right. People might know her from a film called White Hotel, which is one of the first documentaries about the AIDS pandemic in Africa. Why did you decide to work together? Because a lot of filmmakers, directors in particular, are very territorial, and here you're sharing directing credit with another person.
Well, I think we've just really both admired each other's work. I come from more of a narrative background, and hers was this very personal documentary. I just think we both saw each other's work and realized how hard it is just to do it on your own because you don't have the financing and you don't have the support that you might want. And so we just kind of thought, well, if we pool our talents together, we could create something. And, it takes a lot of commitment, really, to stick in there with that kind of relationship. And I feel really grateful to have done that with Diane because she is super talented, and we were able to really keep our friendship and our creative collaboration really healthy and intact through the whole thing, which I feel like is its own success.
What is your goal for Painted Nails? Are you looking to get this into theaters, or do you want to have this on public TV or on cable?
I think public TV and cable for sure, and educational distribution. Even in the film festivals right now, we just get a lot of requests for community screenings and educational screenings and becoming a part of library collections. And then video on demand will probably be part of it too. So I think with this piece, I don't think we ever had the idea that it was going to have theatrical distribution because of the length that we made it, and it's such a challenge to get theatrical distribution right now.
It's a 60-minute film, is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
I know, I think with the Academy Awards for the Best Documentary Oscar, that if you play at certain festivals, it would be qualifying for consideration. Is that something that you're aiming for?
That would be great. Yeah. And I know, I think that it would have to be more of a 40-minute, something under 40 minutes to be considered a short.
Yes, a short
And then
film.
if it was feature, it's a funny thing around the length of your film for a documentary, especially because when you're marketing it, you have to think, you know, if you make it short, it's very hard to get into film festivals. And if you make it a feature, it's very hard to get television distribution. So, you know, oftentimes filmmakers make different versions. They'll make like a longer version and then a PBS version. And then for something to be considered for the Academy Awards, I think this would probably be, instead of making a longer film, would be cutting it down to maybe a 40-minute film.
Well, 40-minute would be for the short subject documentary category, but as it is now, it is technically eligible for the feature-length documentary if you wanted to go that route.
Well, we would be very honored to get a nomination for the Academy Awards.
Well, something to work for. You're based, you're in California, but you're based in San Francisco, not L.A. What is the San Francisco movie scene like?
Well, I think San Francisco's, really known for their documentaries. You know, there's so many great documentaries that come out of the Bay Area, and Academy Award-winning documentaries, and a lot of the Sundance films. And so I think that that's influenced me in some ways. Though I'm now working on a script, a narrative script. So it's something that I want to go back to is narrative film. But I think I will be very influenced by the documentary, my documentary background and styles. And I see that a lot of filmmakers now are kind of merging those, documentary and narrative work together. And I find that exciting. But I think as a narrative filmmaker, it's challenging because I think especially for theatrical work, people still want to see stars in your film, and that part hasn't really changed, I think, to get theatrical distribution. So I think being in the Bay Area, it's a little harder to have those kind of connections, but not impossible.
And if we circle back to where we started, what became of Walls of Sand? Can people see it today?
Good question. No, not really. Though I was just looking and it looked like maybe it was on Amazon, but I really want to, I don't know if that's true. I just kind of did a search. But I would, I'm really proud of that film, and that and the other film I did, In the Wake, the two narrative features, and it is a goal of mine to get those back online and where people can stream them and do video on demand. And and also I really want to preserve Walls of Sand because it was shot in 16 millimeter. And so it's something right now I'm applying for a grant, like a preservation grant, so that it can get the negative preserved and get the audio put on digital, because it was from another era.
Yeah. So another era, but it's a beautiful, really beautiful movie, and so is In the Wake, for that matter, which we didn't have a chance to get to. Last question, Erica. If people wanted to find you and find your work online, where could they go to?
Go to Pivotaleye, PIVOTALEYE.com, and then Painted Nails, the documentary we talked about, is paintednailsmovie.com. So you can see the trailer probably in both places.
Excellent. Erica Jordan, thank you so much for joining us this evening on the Online Movie Show.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. Nice talking to you.
Okay, take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
And that was Erica Jordan. Coming up on next week's online movie show, we're going to have New Haven-based filmmaker Stephen Dest here in the studio. His new movie is called I Am Shakespeare. It's not about the bard from Stratford, but he's quite an interesting filmmaker. I'll be talking about the Connecticut film scene here. We're also going to be paying a visit with John Oricchio, who is a horror film director and writer based out of New Jersey. I was in one of his films called Abduction, and I actually got, it was a great role. I wound up getting cut up by a mad surgeon, which is, I usually get killed in my movies. I've been an actor in about 20 films, and my specialty is getting badly killed. I've been disemboweled with a claw hammer. I've been shot in the head. I was killed in a car crash, albeit an off-screen one, but they showed my bloody remains afterwards, which was quite nice. But enough about me. This is PPRN Radio that you're listening to, and directly after this show at 8 o'clock is Undiscovered, which is a showcase of music that is not on major labels. All genres. We have pop, rock, metal, jazz. We even have some classical, I think, in there as well. And as I stated at the beginning of the show, we've had other radio stations around the world contact us saying, hey, what's this music you're playing? We want to play this on our lineup too. And so if you're a singer or represent a band and you want to have your music on Undiscovered, please get in touch with us at PPRN Radio. You could email us at pprn3221@yahoo.com or just send a message to us via the Facebook page. And if you like what you're listening to on PPRN, come back tomorrow, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Peter Pinho's show. It's 3 hours of unscripted and uncensored comedy and conversation with live music. Tomorrow's band is going to be The Remnants. They'll be here in the studio, along with singers Bruce Gregory and Charlie Bean. And somebody from the film world named Leo Petri is going to be stopping in as well. We also have coming up on Friday. On Friday.
New show.
Oh, that's actually. Oh, Peter Pinho. Hello. What are you doing here? What are you doing on my show? We have a new show on Friday called Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine. And if you love UFOs and the paranormal and cryptozoography and all sorts of wacky, weird stuff, Jim Dynamo is your man. Wednesdays at 3 o'clock, we have CT Rocks, hosted by the irrepressible Bob D'April. And he's offering the best of Connecticut music. You know, for a little state, Connecticut has really had a lot of great music, both contemporary as well as classic rock. So Bob is your man for that one. Peter Pinho also has a show Wednesday at 7 p.m. The band is going to be Back in the Day, and we also have on that show two real oddballs. You'll love these guys. Dayton Fenwick is here. He's a singer, actor, and God knows what else he does. And also somebody named Lorenzo King, who is a male stripper and a go-go dancer. He's the type of guy you take home to mother if you really hate your mother. So that's on Wednesday. Sunday at 10 a.m. here on PPRN Radio, we have three guys talking sports. If you like sports served funny side up, it's certainly quite a lot of fun to have these guys listen to. And Saturday, of course, is our Piece de Resistance starting at 12 o'clock Eastern. It's Mixtape Saturdays with Mr. Pinho and his DJ Peter Pinho guys playing the best innovative, imaginative, inventive mixes from DJs all over the U.S. The party starts at 12, runs through 8 o'clock, 8 hours of that music. My God, that's nobody else has that here. And if you listen to the PPRN radio during the course of the day, you'll listen to this show will be repeated, our other shows, and also Peter Pinho's talk shows. He's been on the air for 4 years. Congratulations, Peter. And we have a lot of great old shows that are being broadcast. And I think I've run out of things to say. So I'll see you next Monday, 7 p.m. This is Phil Hall. Good night.